What's up, everybody? It's AJ with etrailer.com. Today we're going to be checking out the Stromberg Carlson base pad peak. Now these are going to be stabilizers you can put underneath your front jack or your scissor jacks here to help stabilize your rig. So this is going to be good because you don't have to lower your jack or your scissor jacks all the way down to the ground, so they can kind of stay compressed, and that's going to make them a little bit more stable. Let's check it out. This is going to be a great replacement for if you're using cinder blocks or wood blocks to stabilize your trailer. Those aren't recommended because, you know, the cinder block can break over time, chunks of it can break off, or the wood block is the worst just because it's going to trap all that moisture, then it can corrode on the inside or just become really weak when you least expect it. This is going to be made out of high grade plastic, so it's really going to hold up. I can knock on it. You can hear it's just not like a flimsy plastic. I can't move it or bend it as I push on it. Plus, our rig's laying down on top of it. It can hold up to 3,500 pounds, and you can see altogether it's holding it just fine. I want to show you what it looked like with my hands on it. It is heavier than I expected it to be. It is a heavier plastic, and I know that's not super comforting knowing it's plastic, but it's heavy duty. I mean, I'm knocking on it. You can hear it's got that dull sound as I hit it. So it's not just a flimsy plastic. I can't get it to bend or anything. I can pull on it and push on it. You can see it's got the structure on the inside. It's going to help keep it strong, and that's why it's able to hold up to so much. But it does have a good little weight to it. Let's see how it'll drop on the ground. You can hear it doesn't sound like just one of those plastic empty buckets. So I really like that. That makes me feel a little bit better about using it on my rig. On the inside, I want to go ahead and test how those base pads work if it's just being applied. So I was worried that you're going to feel a flex or anything, but walking around feels just fine. I think it's more stable, like I said earlier, just because the jacks aren't completely lowered, because, you know, the lower they get, the more there's going to be a little bit more movement. But since they're only like halfway lowered down, they're going to be more stable that way. Plus the footprint that you get with those pads really improves when you're walking around. Now I'm going to go walk around, and you can see the outside of the camper just to see that it's not moving much while I'm pacing back and forth. So I'm walking to the back, and now I'm going to walk back up to the front, and I don't feel much movement underneath me, and you probably don't see anything outside either. Now we'll go over some dimensions. It's going to be 5 1/4 inches right here wide. It's going to be 9 1/4 inches long, and then the entire footprint is going to be 10 inches by 13 inches, and then it's also going to be 8 inches tall by itself, but you can also stack another one on top and get 14 inches out of it. Another thing I want to point out is we do get this question a lot. You can use it with the Stromberg Carlson rubber landing pad as well. So the base pad is going to go underneath there and just give you a bigger footprint and really help you out if you're on more loose ground like gravel or sand. This is going to give you that bigger footprint to help you out with making sure it doesn't sink too far in there and keep it stable. Another nice thing about it, with if you're using them together or even separately, this one being rubber and that one being made out of plastic, you can easily clean it off when you use it in the sand or the gravel all the time, because you know it can get dust or get sand everywhere. Just spray it off and it's all good. Now we're going to show you how to set these up. So this is like we pulled up to our campsite and we're ready to get these underneath the jack and the stabilizers. So first thing you want to do is slide this underneath your jack. Easily slides into place. Right there. It also has the 2 holes here that are good for your fingers. That way you can remove it if you need to, or help you push into place, or just help you lift it up. That's handy to have. You don't have to just grab the whole thing. So get that about where I want it, and then I'm going to lower the jack down on it. I'm going to go ahead and unhook the trailer and release the ball here. That way, we can lift up off there. One of the nice things is it's not going to take as long as it normally does, because we have an automatic jack, which is nice, where I'm just holding the button down. You see how long that's even taken just to get it up and off the ball. It would be even longer if you had to go those extra 8 inches to the ground. Now, the next step is just go ahead and slide and under our scissor jacks here. They're going to help stabilize our rig, and you do just like you normally would to lower those. Get that lined up and drop it down. Looks like I was a little off. They're easy to adjust and fix that. And we're going to do that for the remaining 3 jacks. Another thing I wanted to point out is when I mentioned you could stack them earlier, not only is that for storage, you can see it's sitting on there. Now it doesn't quite go all the way down, but that's on purpose. It's because if 8 inches just isn't enough, you need a little bit more, you can stack it on top there and use it this way. And that's going to be 14 inches instead of the normal 8 inches you get. These base pads will also work with 5th wheel trailers too. So we got this set up. It can handle the weight of this, and remember that 3,500 pounds is per base, so that all adds up to be able to handle this just fine. You know, I was worried as we were lowering the feet on there if it was going to be able to hold it or not, and it was fine, and no issues there. We got the scissor jacks on the back set up as well, so it's holding it up. I really like that it takes up that gap far easier that way. Like we kind of said before, you don't have so much of the stabilizers down. It's going to save you some time when you're setting up, and if you need this extreme adjustment all the time, it's better than stacking up a bunch of the leveling blocks to fill up that gap, or using 2 boards or 2 cinder blocks. That's just stuff that you're stacking up that could cause issues down the line. If you need just a little bit more, like instead of that 8 inch, you're going to use that 14 inch. At least you got both those stacked on top of each other, and they're not going to move and shift under there. They're going to stay nice and seated and take up that gap. Something else would be storage. So when you aren't using them, how much space are they going to take up? And we just got one of them right now. I'm just going to put it in the basement door. See, it takes up a decent amount of space. It still fits in there. It's pretty loaded in here. It'll still fit, and if you stack them on each other, that will at least condense it a little bit. I can push this further back into the basement and be just fine. Overall, working with this today really turned me around on it. I was a little worried at first that it was made out of flimsy plastic, but then just lifting it up, I could feel the weight in my hands. Made me feel a little bit better about that. And not to mention the structures on the inside showed me that it was reinforced. So when I went to go set it down and set up on both of our rigs, you know, dropping the stabilizer or even the jack up front, it took up that 8 inches of space, which saved me time with setting it up. So even the automatic jack that was powered, hit the button, that still takes some time for that to come down and lower, and that made contact way quicker and got me moved on to the manual scissor lifts. Those were pretty easy too to set up and get them in place. Now I will say you can buy them in a quantity of 1, 2, 4, or 5, so you can get as many of them as you need to set up your rig quicker. Well, I think that does it. Thanks for hanging out. I hope this helped.